What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics that we are going to discuss. We're going to discuss politics, people's mindsets, and other things that are hot topics that are trending. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring out my producer, the wonderful Mark Lee, so we can get into these hot topics.
How are you doing today? It's a lovely day here in Durham.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a lovely day in Durham, North Carolina. I'm over at the Haytat Center, as folks can tell. We had a group of folks that did a play that was dealing with climate justice. It was actually two friends of mine that I've known for a while, Connie and Jody, I believe is their friend's name, that run an organization. But they had everything from puppets to singing to a young lady from New York. They were talking about climate justice and even how it ties into other issues like Palestinian rights and stuff like that. And then we had our big Tree Festival yesterday as well. So there's been a lot of things going on in a positive note. And I think I told you that Dad had been sick, then he went to the rehab center, and then yesterday he went home. So he's sitting at home, relaxing in his own house and all along those lines. So that is some good news, that we're glad that Dad is at home in his own house. I mean, he does have to get around maybe a little bit with the walker and some other things because of the surgery, but definitely he was be able to get home, and that is a wonderful thing and all along those lines. So I was glad to hear that he's doing better and is able to get into his own house, even though he did have to do a little bit of retrofitting in order to make it more comfortable for him to get around as he is continuing the road to recovery and all along those lines. But that being said, I had a question for you. And since we're going to talk politics and all along those lines, there was a popular show that I did not know was popular because I didn't even know about it until recently. Because I need to follow more of other podcasts and everything. It's got a very interesting title. It's called Call Her Daddy. And apparently Vice President Kamala Harris on that podcast. And they say that it tops in Spotify. We got to get us up top in Spotify and everything like that. But she said, talking about that Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who said that she wasn't humble because she doesn't have biological children. She said, meaning Kamala Harris, I don't think she understands that there are a whole lot of women out there who are not aspiring to be humble, to a whole lot of women out here who have a lot of love in their life, family in their life, and children in their life. And like I said, they said that show is the most listened to podcast by women. And it said, I think it's really important for women to lift each other up. And she did mention being a stepmother to her two stepchildren and everything. And then she said, we have our family by blood, and we have our family by love. And I have both, and I consider it to be a real blessing. And I have two beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mama La. We have a very modern family. My husband's ex-wife is a friend of mine. And then the last thing she said, and then there's another issue that she got to as well that I'd love to hear your thoughts about, is family comes in many forms. And I think that increasingly all of us understand that this is not the 1950s anymore. Family comes in all shapes or forms, and they are family nonetheless. And then Sanders tried to back down and say that she would never criticize a woman for not having children, even though apparently she did do that earlier and everything. But I just wanted your take on this.
Well, I mean, we kind of touched upon it last week or whatever when I mentioned Sarah Huckabee, and she's talking about Kamala is not humble, but that's another way for them to come at Black women because white women always feel like they have to put us in our place and we have to be in a certain place, and by her saying that we're not humbled, that means that we don't understand our place and we don't understand that we need to, be thankful for where we are. Is if they allowed us to, get to, the levels of success that we have earned our right to be at and things like that or whatever. So that's about, humbling of Black women. They always want to say that, we're not humbled and we're not this and we're not that. We don't need your permission to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And like Kamala said, some women don't want to be humbled. Some women don't want children. Some women can't have children. So that does not make them less of a woman. It does not make them less of a nurturer. It does not make them less of a caregiver. It does not make them less of a carer. That's just, the cards that they were dealt in life. Just because you have children don't make you an awesome mom. And just because you have children don't make you an awesome dad. that doesn't mean that. And she's right. Family, we have family ties that are, from people that are not blood. We have family ties from people that are blood. But, in this modern day and age, family does not necessarily mean the typical man, wife, husband, child, and, things like that or whatever. You have friends who consider each other family. You have, family that doesn't even consider blood family. So, you never know the dynamics of a person's situation. But for somebody to say that a person is not humble because they don't have children is, to me, that's code word and code language for, this Black woman needs to be put in her place and things like that. And, I've talked about this on the show, because historically, white women have always had a problem with Black women and Black women beauty. Back in the day when we have, slavery, well, during slavery times, Black women were made to wear Tijons on their heads as a head wrap because white women felt threatened by their beauty and their hair because the white men paid so much attention to them that they got jealous and that they didn't want them looking at Black women. So I mean, in this instance, it's the same capacity. She's talking about she needs to humble herself or whatever, but we already know that's code language for Black girl. You need to know your place and stuff like that or whatever. A Black woman, you need to know your place. So for Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who actually looked like a Sasquatch to me, you shouldn't be saying anything. You know what I'm saying? And you over there talking about, Trump has, women best interests at heart. How can he have women best interests at heart when, he put 3 Supreme Court conservative judges, handpicked them, and, put them on the Supreme Court with the intent of overturning the law of the land, which was Roe versus Wade? Because, if we would have said that this was going to happen some years ago, you could have, made us a monkey's uncle. We never would have thought that this would have happened, some years ago. But, we have to look at, the strategicness behind it. This is all about white women because the white population is in decline, and they're trying to make sure that white women don't have abortions so that they could have more white people and things like that or whatever. Because if you notice, when we look at the Census Bureau and other statistics, it's going to be a brown nation in a few more years. It's already headed on that trajectory. It's already headed on that path. So we, not we, but because the Black women understand, but other women got to understand that the trajectory that Trump is on is to dismantle everything that we know to be sound. They want to get rid of the Department of Education. They want to get rid of FEMA. They want to get rid of the Department of Justice, and they also want to go after people who voted against him. What kind of democracy is that? He's trying to basically have this as a draconian and authoritative type situation. He's trying to basically make this a Putin like Russian type situation, because anybody that speaks out against Putin, they're killed, they're poisoned, they're jailed and things like that. And this is something that he is personally advocating for. And people got to understand, when you have these white women out here who are, saying one thing but living by other standards, these people don't have your best interest at heart. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders does not have the everyday woman best interest at heart, and people got to understand that.
No, that makes a lot of sense along those same lines and everything. There was another story that got a lot of play, and I don't know your take on it and everything, but people were critical of Kamala for not being in the media. So she's done a number of media appearances, including one on 60 Minutes, which I think was yesterday. And now people are criticizing her because they're calling it one of those word salads where she answered her thoughts on Israel. And apparently she said the aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah present Iran, I think that it is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks. But then she continued, now the work we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting that pressure on Israel and in the region, including Arab leaders. I don't know about you, but I just read that quote, and none of that sounded unclear to me. That sounded very clear to me. That did not sound like a word salad, which they accuse her of, because he's basically saying that we support Israel and we support Israel's right to defend itself. And she's also saying that we got to negotiate and then get some humanitarian aid. So this notion that that's a word salad, I don't quite get it. But maybe you can help me clarify where that was a word salad.
It's not a word salad. I mean, it's just, if your intellect is not there for you to understand basically what she said. She's saying that Israel is a ally of NATO, in which Israel is, and we provided aid to Israel to defend themselves and things like that or whatever. But also with provided aid, there's still the humanitarian side of it, that we are looking for a ceasefire. It's nothing complicated and nothing hard to understand, But since you brought it up, all these Arab people are talking about, to black people, telling us that if we support Kamala, then we're against Palestine. First of all, I was never with Palestine. I was never with your asses from the jump. So let's just be clear or whatever, because y'all want to dictate to us who we can and cannot vote for, but y'all don't stand with black folks when we have black issues and things like that or whatever. So who the hell are you to tell me, a black woman born and raised in America, that I cannot vote for a black woman and what she stands for? You know what I'm saying? Y'all have some goddamn nerve to have the audacity to say that we as black people should not vote for this black woman. You can't tell me who the hell I'm going to vote for, and I'm going to be standing first in line to vote for this black woman. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, like I never supported their asses in the first place, because this is a war and this is things that we shouldn't even be involved in. But y'all want to reach out talking about, black people need to support this and black people need to support that. Where were you when Breonna Taylor was shot while she was asleep? Where were you when George Floyd was shot was kneed and killed to death? Where were you when Sandra Bland was shot and hung in the hung in the jail cell in Texas? Where were you when all of these black people are losing their lives? Where were you when the black man 21 or something was just hung in North Carolina? Where were y'all asses? Nowhere to be damn found. Nobody, none of you Palestinians, none of you Israelites spoke out about any of that, and the torture that black people go through, and the things the trauma that we have dealt with in America on a day-to-day basis. So, when y'all start speaking out and standing up for us and our rights, then I start speaking out and standing up for your rights as Palestinians and Israelites and things like that. But otherwise, I could give zero fucks.
No, that makes a lot of sense and everything. But I did have a question for you based on one of our other commentators here on the network. Because I think it was on either our media show or the economic show. It could have even been World Edition. But Shaquille is from Australia, and he was talking about the Trump campaign and all along those lines. And he made the statement that Trump support was greater than it had been in the past. So meaning that he did not say it was the majority. He would never say that. But he said that it was a growing amount of African American men, as well as African American, as well as Gen Zs and others that are supporting Trump. And I have to say, I agree with you that it's not a majority, it's not a lot of them, but it does seem like we're seeing more vocal ones that are coming out. So I was just wondering, what would your answer be to those folks that are considering voting for former President Trump, that are in those groups? Because it does seem like even some of the polls are saying that he's got a little bit greater influx. It might only be by a percentage or two, but that he's got some additional support that he did not have.
Honestly, I don't believe those polls, because they said they said that the last time in the presidential race, when he was running against Kamala and Joe Biden and things like that or whatever, I think they're inflating the polls and stuff like that. And a lot of those people who are at those Trump rallies are paid actors and things like that or whatever. These are not people that actually support him and things. And don't get me wrong, you do have some wannabes and some Toms out there and some Tomettes that are out there that actually support him and things like that or whatever. But as far as the mass majority, we already know what the assignment is, and we understood the assignment. And so we're going to be at the polls on November 5th to send Trump ass to jail, because that's our main focus, is to not elect him and to send him to jail. So I don't believe the polls and things like that or whatever. I think they're lying, and I think they have inflated his numbers to try to make it seem as if he is the front runner in this election, which I hardly believe that he is, because a lot of people are supporting Kamala. And from what I've seen on like TikTok and Instagram and things like that, Kamala has a lot of black men who are supporting her and things like that or whatever. So as far as like all these 5 to 10 that are running out there talking about, oh, they're a Trump supporter or whatever, I just don't believe the accuracy of it, and I think all of it is fallacy and things like that. But since you brought it up as being a Trump supporter, so now the white Trump supporters are whipping the black Trump supporters ass. We just saw a video not long ago where the black Trump supporter got his ass whooped, got stumped, at a Trump rally. So what y'all gonna say about that? So y'all still supporting Trump and what he believe in and what he stand for. You know what I'm saying? You talking about policies, but you talking about you don't agree with him as a person, but you agree with him as the policies. But his policies is reflective of him and as a person. He put all those people like Betsy DeVos over the Department of Education, who had no clue as to how to run a Department of Education. She supported free choice and things like that or whatever, where public dollars can go to support private schools and things like that or whatever. No, if you want your child in a private school, you pay for it. Public dollars need to support public schools and things like that or whatever. So y'all sitting out there running around talking about, oh, Trump is a great businessman. Where?
Yeah, man, he definitely. He
all
said,
of his businesses all of his businesses have failed. You know what I'm saying? Everything this man touched has failed. From the Taj Mahal to all of his casinos to all of the hotels and things like that, and people are paying to put the Trump logo on their hotels. But Trump business and Trump as a businessman, he has done nothing great. In the racism that he spews or whatever, it's like what person are y'all looking at? Are we looking at the same person? Are we hearing the same rhetoric? Are we listening to the same debates? Are we listening to the same stuff that's coming out of their mouths and things like that? Just like qualified immunity, like this man wants to give police qualified immunity for shooting and killing black people, and I'm perplexed as to, do they even understand this? Do they even understand what these terms are when they say law and order? Do you not understand that this means that the white folks can go out there and shoot your black ass and nothing is going to be done? The police go out there and shoot your black ass and they're going to get away with it. There will be no accountability. But you over there sitting on trying to be a yes massa and a yes man and trying to be aching to these white folks like like you have arrived, like that's the next best thing other than cottage cheese and things like that or whatever, and you don't even understand what these people are, like just like the Trump worker, I want to say in Florida, he found out that he was getting paid significantly less than the white folks, and the white woman told him that he was a freaking slave. You know what I'm saying? And he should be thankful for what the hell he got. So so y'all sitting out here running around supporting this mofo, and the people are showing you what they believe in and what they're trying to go back to. When they say make America great again, they're talking about make America great again for them, where your black asses didn't have no rights, where your black asses couldn't say anything, where you could barely even walk down the sidewalk and look at a goddamn white woman without being lynched and shit like that or whatever. Excuse my language, because I know my little nephews watch my show, but it just really pisses me off when you have black folks that's running around here talking about, I'm supporting Trump and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and they have no clue as to, what this man is actually standing for. This man advocated for the death of 5 innocent black boys, the Central Park 5. You know what I'm saying? After this white woman lied and said that they raped her. They were nowhere to be found, but she lied. But again, like I said, they want to take the word of these white folks like it's just, the next best thing. Like, they're just aching and they're in tandem with whatever they got going on, and they don't give a shit. All they want is their votes, and they don't even understand that they're throwing their votes away and they're voting their rights away. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Speaking of that, there is another quote that's out there. It's been out there for a while. I mean, it's up there with the cats and dogs, but as one that used to own cats, I don't have any right now, but this whole notion of the country being run by childless cat ladies and everything in that space. But, Harris said that she thinks it's mean-spirited. I think that most Americans want leaders who understand that the measure of their strength is not based on who you beat down. The real measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up, and she spent a lot of times on that interview called on the Call Her Daddy podcast talking about abortion. And she brought up a good point. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. But she said, let's talk about how it affects a real person. The majority of women who receive abortion care are mothers. So imagine she's in a state with an abortion ban. 1 out of 3 women are, by the way, in our country, and she's a mom. She's going to have to figure out one, God help her if she has affordable child care. God help her if she has paid leave. Then she's going to have to go to the airport, stand in the TSA line, sit on a plane next to a perfect stranger to go to a city where she's never been to receive the care she needs. And that's all if she can afford a plane or a bus ticket. So it definitely sounded like she was making an appeal toward women around the abortion issue and everything. And she said, you don't have to abandon your faith or deeply held beliefs to agree that government shouldn't be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she'll talk to her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, or imam, but not the government telling you what to do. And that's what's so outrageous about it. It's a bunch of these guys up in those state capitals are writing these decisions because they somehow have decided they're in a better position to tell you what's your best interest than you are to know what's in your own best interest. So I just wanted your notion around this notion of you women being able to be in control of your own bodies and everything, which I think most women should be.
But that's the thing. You have all these uneducated ass men, trying to tell women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. You've never experienced a menstrual cycle. You've never experienced, period cramps. You've never experienced, having a stillborn birth. You've never experienced your body rejecting a baby. Just because you get pregnant does not mean that your body is going to accept the baby. You know what I'm saying? Men have never experienced these things. And for someone to sit and tell a woman what they can and cannot do with their body, that's just asinine. And that's just one of the most ignorant things that I've ever heard. What we should be saying is, once men turn 18, they need to have a vasectomy until they get married and stop populating the earth with all these bastard ass children that they're not raising and that they're not taking care of. But the thing about it is they want to blame the woman for, keeping the baby or whatever, and not assisting with, raising their children and things like that, making them single mothers, making them go through what they're going through and things like that or whatever. So, it's really like a slap in the face for them to sit there and say that, women have to endure all of this madness and foolishness just because they are a woman and they don't have the intellect or the know-how to, decide what's going to go on with their bodies. And you need a person who's not even a woman, but an ignorant ass man, an ignorant ass 78-year-old white man at that, trying to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body, which is so asinine to me. So, let's tell him what he can and cannot do with his. He needs to take that fake orange tan off. He needs to take that toupee off. You know what I'm saying? He needs to, his hands should be cut off by, Muslim laws, because you over there grabbing them. Well, they do it too, but you over there grabbing women by the pussies and things like that or whatever. And you think you're fine with that, so my thing is, we have a lot at stake at this rate and at this stage in the game and things like that or whatever.
We got a lot at stake, but
I think, to be honest with you, it's going to be a lot of women who come out of the woodworks and vote against Trump because they are afraid of their rights, further rights being taken away and things like that or whatever. Because my thing is, like, how you gonna tell me how I feel when I'm cramping? How you gonna tell me how I feel when I'm on my menstrual cycle? There's no possible way that you can tell me how I feel. Another woman can't even tell me how I feel because our bodies are different. Our bodies respond differently. You know what I'm saying? When I'm laying up in bed sick with chills and fever every month, you know what I'm saying? Are you experiencing those sick and chills and fever when you're on your menstrual cycle? You know what I'm saying? Because everybody doesn't respond the same way when they're on their menstrual cycle. And for the men out there who think that they know every goddamn thing and trying to tell women, what they can and cannot do with their bodies, let me see you push your baby out of your penis. Let me see you have menstrual cramps. Y'all would bitch up in a minute because y'all couldn't handle the pressure and y'all couldn't handle the pain. You know what I'm saying? But for you to sit there and say a woman can and cannot do, and a woman cannot make a decision based on her own personal knowledge of her own personal self, that is just the most asinine thing to me it's insolent. It's just
No, now we're going to switch just slightly on to another topic and everything because there's another major celebrity that is in trouble, and ironically, apparently his mother is coming to his defense and everything because Diddy's mom, Janice Combs, is saying that her son is going through a public lynching. Her words, not mine, and everything. So she called the reaction regarding her son heartbreaking. She said, "I came to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son, Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but a narrative created out of lies," she said in a statement shared by her attorney, Natalie G. Figures, late on Sunday night. And definitely it sounds like she is Janice shared she's not trying to portray her son as perfect, but believes he deserves a fair trial. To bear witness to what seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has had the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put it in words. Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court to finally share his side and to prove his innocence. So, I mean, she's doing what a mother will do. She's defending her son. But what is your take on this? Because apparently she is saying that this is a public lynching and folks going after her son because of his celebrity and all along those lines. So she apparently is definitely coming to the aid of her son and all in that space. But I was just wondering your take on that particular case.
I mean, as she should be. She should stand behind her child. That's her child. You know what I'm saying? That's her son. You know, what mother wouldn't stand behind their child, and things like that or whatever. And I do believe it's a public lynching and stuff like that. And everybody's going to come out the woodworks and say they did this and he did that and things like that because it's just a whole nother Bill Cosby situation. You know what I'm saying? When all those women came out the woodworks talking about, he did this and he did that, and a lot of them were lying, But my thing is, if you knew this was going on and you knew what type of parties he was dealing with, why did you go? You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, at some point you stop being the victim and you start being a willing participant, but a lot of people do a lot of things for money, and then when they don't get the fame and the notoriety that they think that they deserve, then they want to cry victim. Because my thing is with Cassie, you stayed there for 10-15 years. You were no longer a victim at that point, but you was a willing participant, this situation. And don't say she couldn't have left the situation, because she wasn't with him 24/7. She may have gotten hands put on her at one point in time, but you had an opportunity to get away. You got away when you got tired. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, you became a willing participant after so many times. After that, you were no longer a victim. And like I said, people do anything, any and everything. They sell their soul, for whatever, and they want that fame and notoriety. And then when they don't get it, then it's a problem. Just like with R. Kelly, when those parents were pushing their daughters towards R. Kelly, they knew what type of they know R. Kelly likes them young. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he shouldn't even be the only one that's in jail. The parents should have been in jail, and everybody else should be in jail. But yet now y'all want to throw the rock and hide your hand when the money ran out and things like that. And the same thing with Diddy. Everybody's gonna come out the woodworks now talking about, oh, I was harassed, I was sexually victimized and things like that. And like I said the other day, so since y'all like to get flued out, that's what y'all say, flued out, flown on a plane and things like that. So since the person that's flued you out, flown you out, are they sex trafficking you? Because you already know what time it is when you get flown out. You know what I'm saying? So are you participating in the sex trafficking ring and things like that? Because Diddy wasn't the only celebrity that has flown women out to parties and things like that or whatever. And he's not going to be the last, because at the end of the day, you are grown. You made your own decisions, and you have to make your bed and you have to lie in it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody made you stay at those parties after dark. Nobody made you, because not one person said that they were forced to do those things. Now, I haven't heard one person say that they were forced. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, you were a willing participant. So again, like his mom said, I do think he is getting tried in the public and things like that or whatever. But these white men out here, they have done worse. Trump said, grab them by the pussies. Brett Kavanaugh, who sits on the Supreme Court, has, sexually assaulted women and things like that, but they still allow him to be on the Supreme Court. So don't sit here talking about, the law is good for one person and the law is not good for another person, because y'all let Trump become a president and y'all still voting for his sexist tail. So, I think it's good for the goose is good for the gander.
No, that makes sense. And there was a case involving education, which I know is another passion of yours, and it involves some of those racist folks and everything. But a black teacher in Boston said he thought he was going to die and described a racist attack that took place 2 years ago and everything. So Charles Morrell the third, a black teacher from Boston, alleges he was brutally assaulted by a white nationalist group in 2022 and is now seeking an undisclosed amount in a federal court case against his assailant. So on October 2nd, which would have been last week, during his testimony at the case presided over by U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani, he alleged that he was punched, kicked, and beaten by Patriot Front leader Thomas Russo and members of the white supremacist group. The educator and saxophonist claims that Russo and the group used metal shields during the assault on July 2nd, 2022, and he said he was playing saxophone near the Boston Public Library when the hate group attacked him. I thought I was going to die. He told the Boston Globe during an interview, self-identified as American nationalists, Patriot Front members rationalized their hatred and intolerance by asserting the need to preserve American identity as a pan-European nation, according to the Anti-Defamation League. And since 2019, the group has emerged as a prominent source of white supremacist propaganda in the United States, employing flyers, posters, stickers, banners, and digital platforms to spread their extremist views. So definitely it was formed in 2017 after breaking away from the openly anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi vanguard America, but they have transitioned from explicitly anti-Semitic and traditional white supremacist language to an aesthetic embodying so-called patriot nationalism marked by red, white, and blue imagery. So I was just wondering your take on these kind of groups, because apparently they're growing. I mean, I know people are talking about the rise of anti-Semitism, but apparently there are rises in hate groups against black and brown people as well, and not just those that are from the Middle East and everything, because this was definitely a brother. I'm looking at his picture and everything. So I was just wondering your take on these kind of attacks, and do you feel that, or fear that we may see more of these types?
I mean, they never went anywhere. My thing is like, they acting like these people just, popped up out the blue or whatever. These people have always been there and things like that or whatever. And, with the rise of Trump and his Trumpian, politics and things like that, they're just more brazen with, coming out and doing what they're doing and things like that or whatever. Because, like I said, they've been lawyers, they've been doctors, they've been policemen, they've been all these things, and they're just more open with, their racism now, that Trump is in office, and, it's going to get even worse the closer we get to the election, and things like that, because they are already saying, wait till January 20th. So they're already planning to, come back and do some things like they did the last time at the Capitol and things like that or whatever. So it's not a surprise, but like I said, the American government allow these white folks to continue to function in that capacity. But when it comes to black people, they call them extremists. They want to tag your social media. They want to say this, they want to say that, and things like that or whatever. But they don't want black people to step up and support their own. But we're the only group of people that can that are allowed to support other people and come out against other folks, but we can't come out against things that's happening to us. They have a problem with us speaking up against violence, amongst blacks and things like that or whatever. So these groups, it ain't no rise and things like that. They have already been there. They're just stepping out and being who they are.
No, but and they seem to give unsolicited opinions, because one of the other stories that I saw recently was, and even the article said, because it came from News One, that one thing to know about white MAGA conservatives is that they can't even explain that they're not racist without being demonstratively racist. So apparently in the article that I'm checking out right now, a 60-year-old white grandmother who called into C-SPAN during Monday's Washington Journal, something that was last Monday, the program, so she could share her unsolicited, and yes, I did say unsolicited, nobody asked her, thoughts on Vice President Kamala Harris and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who she chided for calling MAGA supporters white supremacists, but just before she implied that black voters were responsible for white supremacy. The woman identified only as Mary began her rant by claiming that she doesn't have time to be racist. So that's what her claim is. I know that Kamala is a sheep in wolf's clothing, the woman told host Pedro Echeverria, and I wanted to talk about Hakeem Jeffries. Whenever he gets on the television, he calls Trump supporters, MAGA Republicans, white supremacy, just anything, and he'll say it like 5 times within 1 minute. I'm a 63-year-old woman who has worked all her life, she continued. I don't have time to be racist. I've been too busy working and trying to put a roof over my head and taking care of my family. So as the article said, it's not clear why this woman believes that she would need to take time out of her day to be racist, whatever she does for a living, in order to put a roof over her head and take care of her family. She's fully capable of doing it while indulging in racist preconceived notions. So I do kind of agree with that notion that just because you are working does not mean that it precludes you from having racist views and everything. So I just wanted your take on these folks that just are calling in to things that they weren't even invited to call in, and sometimes saying stupid things. I'm sure you see it. I know I see it sometimes, even on social media.
Well, the thing about it is, a racist never says they're racist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all you got to do is just let them keep speaking long enough, and they'll let you know how racist they are. When she said that, made the comments about Kamala and Hakeem Jeffries and things like that, that shows her racism right there. So it doesn't matter if you 68, 78, 58, 28. If you're a racist, you're a racist, and like they said, all white people are racist anyway. Just because you sit back and watch and don't say nothing, you're part of the problem. That's part of the racism and things like that or whatever. So they're all going to try to come out and say negative things towards her and negative things towards black leaders and stuff like that. And like I said, that word humble, that's code language for black women need to understand their place. When they say you need to humble yourself and you think that you're uppity because what's her name, Candace Owens, the white man's pet, the white man's wench or whatever, basically said that Kamala was uppity, but when she was over there screaming racism because she sued the school district because of racism, now she's talking about there's no racism in America, and she actually married one or whatever, and claiming that white folks are not racist and things like that or whatever, because when they call you uppity, that's like saying you think you're besides yourself and things like that or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that you think that you're too much of yourself. So that's code language. So she's using code language that they utilize back in the day and still utilize to this day, saying that she thinks that she's too much and she thinks that she's besides herself. That's where that word humble come from. Oh, she needs to humble herself. Black women need to humble themselves. And her response was perfect. Everybody doesn't want to be humbled and things like that or whatever. And she's right. Everybody doesn't want to be humbled and stuff like that or whatever. But like I said, a race is going to always be a racist. All you got to do is just let them talk, and they're going to stick their foot in their mouth every time, like she did. Period.
Yeah, you definitely took your foot in her mouth. Now, I want to talk about something that is outside of the conversation just for a second, because
Mm-hmm.
we lost two great legends, two great entertainers. Had the pleasure of seeing one of them when that was going regularly to the National Black Theater Festival, now called the International Black Theater Festival. And you would sometimes run across him even doing African drumming and all along those lines, that being John Amos. And of course, John James Earl Jones passed away not that long ago as well. So I just wanted your thoughts on those two legendary performers from our community, because a lot of people will remember that John Amos was the father on Good Times and everything. Of course,
Yeah.
James Earl Jones had a number of characters that he was known for, including one of those baseball movies, and of course playing the voice on the Star Trek and everything like that. But I just wanted your take on these
Darth
iconic.
Vader and the Lion King. I mean, the community is mourning, but again, they were married to white women, so there ain't really much to say about it. They they chose their past or whatever.
They both were. I did not realize that, because I
Yeah,
could.
they both
But
were.
John Amos and James Earl Jones were both married to white women.
Yeah, they both were. Hmm.
Did
Yep.
not realize that. So, gotcha. So
Yeah.
they chose.
But I mean, there's infighting with John Amos family or whatever.
Yes,
They're
there is.
saying that the daughter or something. He died like 3 months ago, and they're just releasing the news that of his death and passing or whatever, because they have infighting about his estate and stuff like that or whatever. Which I don't care. Honestly, I really don't. But like I said, it is what it is.
Yep, and they went to different universities. I think John Amos went to Colorado State University, and I'm not
Mm,
sure where uh, James Earl Jones went to, but definitely they went to different schools and definitely learned different things. And definitely, you're right. There's a lot of turmoil around what's going on, particularly in John Amos's case and everything along those lines. But definitely, it'll be interesting to see what takes place and how this all plays out and all along those lines and everything. But definitely, it's just fascinating, that kind of conversation going on, and folks are definitely going to remember their legacy and all in that space. A lot of people, I guess, are excited. I was not, but Caitlin Clark, I guess, got her just dues in winning this award of being the Rookie of the Year and everything. Even though now folks are trying to figure out who the lone vote was that voted against her, because it was not unanimous and all in that space. But I was just wondering your take on that, and then I'm going to get to another athlete as well that apparently has written a uh, like some thoughts around what she's doing in terms of documentaries and stuff like that. But what is your take on what's going on at the with the WNBA and Caitlin Clark being named an almost unanimous selection, even though there was somebody that voted against her, and now people are trying to get that person to own up to the fact that they were the lone person that did not think that she deserved to be
They
the.
voted. They voted for for the person that they felt was the best person. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, honestly, Caitlyn was all right, but I honestly thought Angel was going to become Rookie of the Year, but quite naturally they wasn't going to give it to her because they were already saying that she was snubbed. I'm talking about Caitlyn or whatever. She was snubbed, from the Olympics. She was snubbed from this. She was snubbed from that. Oh, they're playing too rough against her in basketball. And you know what I'm saying? So they're already making changes towards, how the referees are calling the game because, they don't feel like, the basketball sport is not soft enough for her or whatever. And the black girls are playing too aggressive and they're playing too rough or whatever. But honestly, I felt like Angel should have got it or whatever, and that's just my choice. And she's going to always be my Rookie of the Year, regardless of who they said is the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And everybody's got their own individual rookies of the year and all along those lines. So definitely everybody has their thoughts as to who it should be or who it shouldn't be and all in that space. Apparently there's a documentary out called Simone Biles Rising Part 2. And definitely that's the documentary I was referring to because apparently there are a lot of folks that are interested in this documentary and everything. So definitely just
I didn't
wanted.
hear the title. What did you say?
It's about Simone Biles. It's Simone Biles. It's a
Oh,
documentary on. So yeah, they're just looking at her career and all along those lines. So I just wanted your thoughts on just her her continued legacy because she's still performing and she's still out there and everything. But your thoughts around Simone Biles, and there's even been some people that are speculating as to how solid her relationship is with her football playing husband and all along those lines. I even did see some articles in that space as well, even though it looks like they have shared their goals of and dreams for starting a family, and they also addressed the criticism they faced during the 2024 marriage and their whole thing in terms of their putting their love out for each other out there and everything. But definitely, I do know that there are folks that are either excited or not excited when they are hearing rumors of her pregnancy, even though I don't think there's anything solid as of this moment. But then there have also been speculations that they might be heading toward the room of breakups that sometimes celebrities do. But I don't know if you've heard anything around those lines or whether you've heard either of them becoming a bigger family or about them separating their family.
no, I've never heard. I haven't heard anything surrounding any of the rumors or whatever. My thing is she's confident in who she is, and she's confident in her husband, in her relationship, and things like that. And people just need to let them live. They need to stop. Holding these celebrities to the standards of everybody else because their relationships are on display, and they are in the public eye, and so people are going to continue to voice their opinions and things like that or whatever. But my thing is let her have her moment, let her enjoy her life, let her enjoy her husband, let her enjoy her victory in the games and things like that in Paris and stuff like that or whatever. Let her do her. If she wants to start a family and engage with her husband, she has done enough for the United States. She has. Although I would love to see her in LA in 2028 or whatever, but I mean, she has earned her stripes. She has earned her flowers and things like that. And people just need to just mind their own business and just let that girl live and let him, live and let them, explore themselves. They are still fairly newlyweds, because they just recently got married not long ago, and she's been training and things like that. He's been in training camps, so let them do them. You know what I'm saying? So let them enjoy being a married couple and engaging in one another and things like that. And for the nosy people out there, just mind your business.
But speaking of minding your business, there is a person that represents a number of causes, from my understanding, because I don't want to say that she is both um, an African American or a minority woman, but I want to say she's also part of the LGBTQIA community. And I'm sure that some of our friends that are in the right, meaning the right politics and that right wing kind of politics, are going to be upset now that Karine Jean-Pierre has been promoted with the title of senior advisor to President Joe Biden. So that just recently came out. So she's not just the press secretary, but she's now the senior advisor. And there's even folks like Jeff Sentz, the president's chief of staff, that says she's been a trusted advisor to the president and all of us here at the White House since day one. So she definitely has begun her role and will definitely have an additional title in addition to the work that she's doing with the press and everything. So I just wanted your take on that because I'm sure that some of our friends that are more conservative are going to be coming at her because they're going to feel that she doesn't deserve it or shouldn't have the job or whatever the title is that she has now been promoted to. So I just wanted your take when I'm sure that she's going to catch some flack for this new title.
When have a black woman ever not caught flack? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like, we can be overqualified for a position and we're still gonna catch flack. So,
Right.
kudos to her and things like that. She needs to continue to persevere and continue to do her and stuff like that or whatever. But like my support and my heart goes out to her because as a fellow black woman and as a fellow woman who's overly qualified positions who were passed up for positions for people who were not as qualified or what. I understand the talk and the rumors and not saying that she's not good enough and things like that or whatever, but she is. We're always having to prove ourselves, whereas like unqualified people, they can just give 25% and things like that or whatever, and no questions asked. Look at Trump and his kids. You know what I'm saying? Trump was not qualified to be president, but y'all made him president. His children are not qualified to be in the White House, but they sold seats to the White House and they sold access to the White House, and y'all said nothing and things like that or whatever. So for this black woman who did a major stepping stone and became an advisor to President Biden, kudos to you. Continue to do you, continue to rise, continue to be successful, and continue to show your haters where you are.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense, and I can definitely see that and everything. There was another article. I'm come back to the vote and everything because the vote is very important, and we got an election coming up on November 5th. But there was an article, ironically, in the New York Post. It came out a couple of days ago, talking about how African Americans are finally voting for their best interests. That's what the article claims. It says, according to a London-based investor and environmentalist, Adam Sweden, a black elephant is a mix of two metaphors: a black swan, an unlikely, unexpected event with enormous ramifications, and the elephant in the room, a problem that is visible to everyone, yet no one still wants to address it. And the Democratic Party, according to this article, has a black elephant problem they don't want to talk about African Americans to comprehend and voters to respond to on election day. And that's what I was saying. They're claiming, and this is going to, I've got some of these figures, and I know you said you didn't buy it, and I don't really buy it, but they said the problem involves the growing support for former President Donald Trump from African Americans. Recent reports revealed that black men in particular are supporting President Trump in record numbers, despite the media 24/7 and nearly 8-year campaign that talks about Trump and his record. It's saying that he is posed to receive the highest percentage of African American votes in 50 years. So definitely, I just wanted your take around this because you got people like the Post that are going to jump on this because they're saying that many African Americans have realized the Democratic Party not just took them for granted, but their policies are causing them damage. And although the United States elected its first president, black president in 2008, and now has its first black female presidential candidate, there are folks that I guess are asking who gave them the greater thrive and who gave them the greater uptake economically. And some of the conservatives are trying to claim that we did better under the Trump administration than we did under the current administration. Like I said,
Oh Lord.
I don't believe that, but that's what they're claiming because apparently one of the statistics said that 59% of African American mothers had children from different fathers, the highest of any ethnic group, and definitely pointed out to some other statistics as well, including the 80% of Chicago public school students could not read at grade level, while the school system recorded one of its highest graduation rates ever. And I guess they're pointing that out because I'm thinking Chicago has a large black population of students and everything. But definitely they're going to try to paint some of these issues, including around school choice and vouchers, as stuff that is better for us than than we think it is. But I just wanted your take to that because I'm not going to read all of this crap. But I just wanted your take on some of these things that they're trying to claim that there is greater support, and there's continue to be greater support, because according to them, we're now coming to a realization that economically we were in a better position when he was in control than we are now.
First of all, we were never in a better position when he was in control. President Biden and Vice President Harris implemented some of the most progressive rules and contracts to help small businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, and he instituted billions of dollars that should be, given to Black-owned businesses and things like that, or whatever. We had the highest number of student loans that were given, not given away, but taken away from millions and millions of people and things like that. That didn't happen under the Trump presidency. That happened under Biden and Harris and things like that. And as far as them having money, first of all, it was the Republicans that said they did not want to give out stimulus check, but it was the Senate. The Democratic Senate that pushed for those stimulus checks for the American people. That was Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. So people they fail to realize, just because Trump's name was on the check does not mean that he sent the check. He purposely put his name on the check as a cover to try to say that he was the one that sent out the checks. He did not send out anything. That came from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and things like that, or whatever. And again, when he was in office, there were a lot of tax cuts that he gave to the rich, that the poor people who earned income credit, they lost their earned income credit and other tax breaks, because the rich got all those tax cuts and things like that under the Trump presidency, which they fail to realize and they fail to recall and things like that, or whatever. And as far as Black men are concerned, we already know that a high number of them are akin to Trump in that white proximity. So we never focused on them anyway. But where the pundits fail to realize is that we have in our corner, as far as the Democratic presidential nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, is white women.
Mm-hmm.
White women. A lot of white women have now jumped ship from the Republican Party, and they are voting Democrat, and they are going to vote Democrat, and that is what's going to take us over the threshold. Because Black men is only a percentile of of the votes and things like that, or whatever. And I don't think it's enough of them to even do a whole lot of damage. But my thing is, who are they polling? Which section of Black men that they're polling? Because there was a whole, thousands and thousands of Black men for Kamala Harris who donated equally as much money as the Black women for Kamala Harris, just like the white men for Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? So I think that when they go to the polls, that they're going to be pleasantly surprised by the massive win over Trump when Kamala is victorious and take that presidency.
What do you say to the folks that are running on the other side? And I've heard some people say that we should always have people on both sides, meaning we should maybe be majority Democrats, as most African Americans are. But then they praise folks like Mesha Maynor, who became the only Black member of the GOP recently, and everything. And of course, they praise folks like Kenneth Pascal. And I want to say that I had a person come and visit one of my co-workers here, and he knew a person that went to North Carolina College of North Carolina Central University, who is now a member of the Atlanta Republican Party, that was a brother, and all along those lines. So I just wonder, what do you say to those brothers that have decided to go over to the other side and become Republicans, maybe because they feel that it is better for them? Because apparently Mesha Maynor switched from Democrat to Republican out of frustration with the lack of school choice for parents. So I'm thinking school choice was her reason. And I'm trying to think, I think the gentleman's name is Henry something. I'm trying to remember the reason that the brother from here went to the Republican Party. But what do you say to those folks that decide that they want to go to the other side for whatever reason they want to go?
More power to you. We don't need you anyway. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't an asset. You were an enemy the whole time. So for somebody to, not be a Stark or, strong supporter, you were never that supporter in the first place. So, tear your ass, kick rocks and things like that, or whatever. Because my thing is, if you're fighting and you're down for the cause, you will be fighting down for the cause regardless of your political affiliations and things like that. Just like, the Republicans that came and spoke to at the Democratic National Convention, most of them said that I am still a Republican, but in this election, I am voting for Kamala Harris. They never changed their party affiliation. So my thing is, more power to you, brother. I hope it works out. I hope it works out for you over there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yep, and like I said, there's a number of them. Tim Scott was another one that was a lone Republican in his area and everything, but definitely he was one that was out there. And there have been a number of other Black Republicans, including Wesley Hunt of Texas and everything, because apparently there's been a number of them that have been elected, some that have been lost their election and everything along those lines. But yeah, it's interesting because even the Pew Research did some research as to the demographics of folks and everything. So they said that Black Republicans are younger than Black Democrats as well as white Republicans. That was in 2022. So they said around 3 in 10 Black Republicans are ages 18 to 29, higher than the share among Black Democrats, which is 70%, and white Republicans, which is 10%. And he said that Black Republicans have a similar profile to Black Democrats. They are about as likely as Black Democrats to live in upper income, 12% versus 10%, or middle income households, 37% versus 40%, and roughly half of both groups live in lower income area. However, Black Republicans are much more likely than white Republicans, 50% versus 18%, to live in a lower income household. So it's interesting when they bring up the demographics, and they say that roughly half of the Black Republicans live in the South. So definitely, but that's that Black Republicans are about as likely as Black Democrats to live in southern states, but more likely than white Republicans to do so. And definitely there's some other places, including the Midwest and everything. And of course, they're less likely, which actually this one surprised me. I don't know if it surprised you, but it said Black Republicans are less likely than Black Democrats to attend Black churches. In both parties, most Black adults identify as Protestants. However, Black Republicans are less likely than Black Democrats, 22% versus 34%, to attend predominantly Black Protestant churches. And the Black Republicans and Democrats are about as likely to be Catholic, 6%, or religiously unaffiliated, 24 versus 21. But does that surprise you that they are less likely to actually be involved in their church community?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. But my thing is, it's all about that proximity to whiteness and things like that. They think the proximity to whiteness equals greatness and things of that nature. And like I said before on the show, you got to understand when you're being tolerated and not accepted, because just because you're tolerated does not mean that you're accepted and things like that. And these white folks out there every day shows that you're tolerated, that you're not accepted. So when you can't freely go to a Trump rally and support the person that you say that you're supporting without getting your ass whooped, that should tell you what you need to know right there.
Yeah, that
Period.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. Well, it's been, as always, a fascinating conversation with you, and I pulled up
Mhm.
some of the articles that I thought might uh, kind of ground and frame our conversation and everything like that. But you Dell, always had some amazing thoughts. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts, because we got to get ready to do Maxine's show here on the network, which is more about business coaching, and she is a sister as well. But I'll let you have any closing thoughts as I'm going to pop off here and everything. But definitely after you close out with whatever you got to close out with, I'll hit that famous little video of yours. And it's a pleasure to see you, and I always love seeing that smiling face of yours, and look
Thank
forward to our
you.
conversations on Mondays.
Well, I'm just going to leave you with this. When you go into that ballot box and when you get ready to vote, wherever you are in the United States, if you're in one of the territories, if you're in one of the states, if you go in that ballot box and you sit there or you stand there and you think to yourself that, hey, you know, I can get the same treatment that the person that I'm voting for is getting, particularly Trump. If I can get the same treatment that Trump is receiving, and I can get the same care that he's receiving, if I commit a crime, then by all means vote for that man. But if you know in your heart of hearts, in the back of your mind, that hey, if you go to jail today, or if you get arrested today or tomorrow, that you're not going to get the same treatment, why are you supporting this man? Why are you going to pull the lever for that man? Because you already know what time it is. You already know what time these races are, and you already know their behavior. You already know the demeanor. You already know that you're not accepted, you're tolerated, and things like that, or whatever. But you know what I say? Do what makes your heart flutters. Do what makes your boat floats, and things like that, or whatever. But as for me and mine, we are going to vote Democrat all the way down, and we're going to get those Republicans up out of there and things like that. But with that being said, the clock on the wall says that's all. Make sure you guys click like and share so we can get those views up in the states. We're still in the top 5 across the nation. and things like that and overseas, but we want to get those views up here in the United States and, bring the all around show, to one of those top top tier spots and things like that or whatever. So again, like I said, the clock on the wall says that's all. And I thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure you tune in every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we have all of the hot topics and then some that, we discuss. And, Dr. Anthony, with her very opinionated self, is going to give you what she does best, is her Black woman opinion.
I had to pop back in. Dr. Anthony, opinionated? Never. No, we love that about you. We love your spirit. We love your spunk. We love all of that about you. And if you don't have opinionated people in your life and opinionated folks in that way, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because I definitely like opinionated people in my life. My own mother was opinionated and is opinionated, just like a lot of other people that I admire are opinionated. So I am a big admirer of opinionated women, and particularly opinionated sisters. So, I'm a fan of yours, but I just had to close when you made that comment. I was like, wait a minute. Of course she's opinionated. That's just the nature of her. But on that note, we're ready to get on out of here.
Deuces, my loves. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.